Good evening, everybody. Got quite the crowded house tonight. Want to welcome everybody to the special called meeting of the Committee of the Whole for May 9th, 2024. Call that meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Francis.
Here.
Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
Councilmember Marsh.
Here.
Councilmember Crabtree.
Here.
Councilmember Craig.
Here.
Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Councilmember Wilcox. Councilmember Meek.
Here.
Councilmember Lumberger.
Here.
Councilmember Keel.
Here.
Councilmember Bell.
Here.
Councilmember Handy.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. If everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Going to move down to the approval of minutes from the April 18th, 2024. They were in your packet. If everybody's had a chance to review them, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I got Amy
Second.
and Terry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Going to jump right on down to administrative matters about the Fire Station 5 bond. I see Miss Clayton's gone away, so I'm not going to even bother calling her up.
Good evening. So I'm here to talk to you guys tonight about Fire Station 5 and what's been going on the last few weeks. I told you guys earlier this week that we opened the bids on April 23rd. That bid is good for 90 days, which means we have 90 days to get the contract signed with them. We really don't want to sign a contract until we have the bonds decided. So I asked to be on the agenda tonight regarding Fire Station 5 bond amount. What we really need to know from council is how much are you guys comfortable bonding? So before I kind of like formally ask you that question, I'm going to kind of go over the cost. I'm going to talk about the different bond options and then see what you guys feel. So our low bid was from Eagle Construction. It's $9,185,053. We know we still have some remaining amounts due to Spur Architecture for $29,500. And Spur Architecture recommended a 5% contingency on the $9,185,000, which is what we currently have in here, bringing the total cost for phase one of the fire station $9,673,806. Here are our funding sources that we currently have, if you all are agreeable. We have $2,275,000, and I think it's $110 in the ARPA funds already designated for Fire Station 5. I've put in here a placeholder of a bond amount of $5 million. If you guys are agreeable, we would like to use the FEMA debris removal grant where we had that $436,000 that you had forwarded back to future funding to be decided. We'd like to use that amount. We currently have in the Fire Station Fund $373,000. We're estimating an end-of-year transfer of around a $700 to $750. I put the low number in here at $700,000. And then we have an estimated end-of-year capital amount of $275,000. Both those last two are totally estimated because I can't predict what's going to happen in May and June. So I'm estimating what I think the transfers might be, which gives us total current funds of $9,059,000. So I just compared for you up here the cost estimate. I sent you guys the bond numbers. I have averaged that, the bond cost for $5 million versus $5.5 million. The gives your cost estimate is the same, $9,673,806. If we use the $5 million bond, we have a deficit of $614,806. If we use the $5.5 million bond, we only have a deficit of $114,806. The next slide I have for you is kind of a comparison of the bond schedule that I sent you guys yesterday. And I have good news to report that the interest rate is actually around 4% now instead of 4.12. So this will be a little bit lower if we were to sell today. But I averaged out the yearly payment for the $5 million bond. The average yearly payment is $381,476. The 5.5 million, the average yearly payment would be $419,237, and on a $6 million bond, the average payment would be $456,972. So my plan, if you looked at the bond schedule that I sent you, in fiscal year 25, which is what we're going into, 24, 25, we would not have to pay a principal payment because we're not planning on selling the bonds until July, which means that in January, we would pay only the interest on 6 months from July to January. So we wouldn't have a principal payment next fiscal year. We would have an interest payment. The next fiscal year, what I talked to Mark Rawlings about was making it a small principal payment, but not the entire principal payment, because our water park bond in fiscal year 25, 26 will only have a principal payment of about $108,000. This year, the principal payment on the aquatic center on the water park is $318,036. Next year, it's going to be around $108,000. So it's in 25, 26. So what I'm suggesting for the payment of this bond to you and to the bond rating company is that we will use the water park bond funds that we currently already budget to pay this bond. You can see that if we do the $5 million bond, the increase in our payment will be around $63,000. And on the next slide, if we do the $5.5 million bond, our increase in payment would be $101,201 estimated. With the lower interest rate, it's probably going to be a little bit lower than that, which I'm super happy about. But the question I'm going to send back to you is, what amount are you guys comfortable borrowing to finance the fire station? So that concludes kind of everything I wanted to tell you, and I'm going to see if you guys have questions or what you want to talk about.
So what would be the benefit of doing the 5.5 versus a 500 as far as our overall budget's concerned?
The $5.5 million kind of relieves the pressure off of trying to figure out where we're going to find another $618,000. If I only have $114,000 to find, that amount is a whole lot easier to find than the $614,000. That would be the deficit if we only borrow
Right.
$5 million.
Okay.
So let me just back to the timeline. We have 90 days. We need the bond ordinance, takes 2 readings. I need the bond ordinance to be passed in June. We would sell bonds the first week of July. I would hopefully have the money by second week of July. We would sign the contract, be within our 90 days, and be able to go. So I kind of need you guys to make a decision. You don't have to decide tonight, but I need you to decide before the June 4th council meeting so we can have the bond ordinance on the June 4th meeting. So that's why I asked to come to you tonight, because we're kind of under a time crunch, but it's not an emergency. You don't have to make a decision, but if you could kind of tell me what you're comfortable borrowing, that would really help me out.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How you doing today?
I'm good.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. On the payment that we are going to be paying yearly, is it just the city, or is it the fire department that's going to be help contribute paying that?
It would be just the city.
That's the city.
It's the city. Just the city.
Yeah, the fire department is a city department, so the revenue kind of goes into the general fund, and the fire department doesn't really get any revenue. The city is the taxing authority, so we would pay the bond payment.
And in our budget for the 3 something that we're talking about every year, are you scheduling that in there?
Yes, it is scheduled in there. This year, it's under the aquatic center bond. In future years, it would be listed under Fire Station 5.
Okay.
Steve? I mean, I know you're kind of wanting an overall feeling of how everyone feels about this, so I thought I'd share with you how I feel about this.
Thank
I mean,
you.
this is just my thoughts. I think that we absolutely need to do this. I mean, I don't know that there's any alternative. That was the plan all along, is to have fire station number 5, and I think we need to move forward. Obviously, the lower amount that we borrow is better, but at the same time, we need to feel comfortable that we can make these payments. So I personally would say go for the 5.5, just because I think that's that's a place where we can make these payments and not feel like we're stressed about it. And I think it's a real great thing that this bond payment is about to roll off of the water park. The timing is kind of perfect that way. So
It
those
is.
are my thoughts, is that I think that we need to go ahead and move forward and let's get this thing rolling.
Thank you.
I'll echo the same thing. I think finance it all up front instead of pulling from here and there. Just do it to feel comfortable. Just do the whole amount. That's my 2 cents worth.
I appreciate that. If you guys are all in agreement, we would need for you to forward a motion to council for the 5.5 when it's time, if that's what you're comfortable with.
Terry?
I don't have a crystal ball, but everything that I'm reading in stocks and the business news and everything, interest rates are going to go up because inflation is rising a lot quicker than the Fed thought. So I think if we can get in at 4.12, at 5.5, I think we'd be in good shape.
The rate was less today. I think Mark is here. Oh, hi, Mark. Mark came tonight in case you guys had questions about the rate, so he's here if you want to, but yes, it was at 4 point.
But it's going to be much closer. If we could sell today, it would be much closer to 4%, maybe even a touch less than that. Rates have come down quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. And I will also throw this out there too. Interest rates.
Martin, you mind coming up? Thank you.
I'll throw this in there too. Interest rates being what they are, they're maybe a little bit higher on the borrowing side than you guys have experienced the last several years and some of the borrowings that we've done. But on the flip side of that, earnings are up too. So the amount that you should be able to earn in the construction fund is going to be increased. And that's going to help bridge some of that gap, that she referenced here on the funding sources. And depending on, what the construction fund looks like, I'm happy to share with Melissa, what sort of earnings we think we could get, because my expectation is that you ought to be able to get 5% or more earnings on the construction fund. So, if you put that entire 9 million in there, $100,000, $200,000 probably, depending on how long construction takes. So that's going to bridge some of the funding gap as well. And if you do the 5.5 million, it may pick up the entire tab on that difference.
Well, we have some unanswered questions about our water park, of course, and some other things that we're looking at. The bottom line is, it just seems like the right time. We planned on this, we've talked about it, so, yeah.
What do we need to do?
We're all in agreement.
Well, basically, if everybody's ready to go, then we'll entertain a motion. If everybody's comfortable with the 5.5, then we'll just entertain a motion to send that to council. Then we'd have to have a couple readings in June, and then we can go get $5.5 million and let's go build a fire station.
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
I've got Travis Neiman.
Yep, Travis, name.
All in favor of sending a $5.5 million to be
Bonded.
hard, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Go build a fire station.
Thank you.
I'm just glad that's all you had to say tonight, Steve.
That's all I got. For now.
For now, great.
For now. He ain't ever through.
No. All right, so that'll bring us down to unfinished business, which there is none. So new business, I'm going to call on Mr. Mike Perry to discuss our city council chamber ADA doors.
Good evening, council members. Something that Troy and I and the mayor have been discussing for probably about a year and a half now is we know we have issues back here with these doors coming in the council chambers that are not ADA compliance. And this room is actually available for, public meetings and for anybody from the public to come to meetings in these rooms. So we really need to have these doors ADA compliance. Just similar to when you come into the building, you'll have a push button and they'll automatically open for the individual, maybe in a wheelchair or whatever it may be. But we're requesting to take some money out of the mayor's interfund funds, $12,055 to get this retrofitted, and will we be in compliance with ADA?
Yeah.
All right, any questions for Mike?
Yeah. So the bid process, you've been through the bid process.
We don't have to bid because it's under 40,000, but I did request several quotes.
Okay, good.
This is the only company actually would show up and actually give me a quote.
Well, I'm thankful that for the city, we've got you to negotiate some things like that because you've been masterful at it before.
Yep.
Thank you for doing that. And I read it. I don't know if there's any other discussion, but I would make a motion to pass it on.
All
I'll
right,
City
second.
Council.
I've got, you heard. So what we're gonna do is send a motion for an MO, spend some of JR's money. I like that.
That's right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Now for the main event, the moment y'all been waiting for. Mr. Gary Ruebush with the fiscal year 24-25 operational budget discussions.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. For the fiscal year 2024, 2025 budget, we're sticking with the keeping a promise of growing home, continuing our focus on the city employees, city departments, city-owned buildings, citywide cleanup campaign, and public safety. We do have a balanced budget. There's no new taxes, no increases. And the considerations that we're bringing forth to you is the general fund, $51,194,931. Revenues, expenses, $51,194,831. MRA fund, $925,309. And then expenses, $925,309. The capital fund, the revenues of estimated revenues, projected revenues of $2,387,000, $87,168, and expenses $2,385,909, leaving a surplus of $1,259. Here are the revenue projections. The revenue projections are based on, for payroll tax, on a 2% growth factor. That growth is estimated at $995,659. The insurance premium tax, 2% growth factor, estimated at $130,861. And then property tax is based on actual fiscal year 2023, 2024 actuals. And that's $571,500. And we do have an increase with SRO, ambulance, ECC reimbursements, and that would be $774,269. Any questions on that so far? All right, city agencies, partnerships that make a difference. We had meetings with the agencies, the admin team did. We ended up meeting with 27 different agencies over about a week and a half period. The main focus on these discussions was the focus of the agency and the resources it provided the community, to the citizens of Hopkinsville, balancing their reserve accounts, other sources of revenue, how current year funds are being spent, and any anticipated changes for next fiscal year. The CDS allocation, as you all know, one of the largest partnerships that we work with them closely. We have it broke down in CDS planning and zoning. It was recommended that there be $630,000. That's a 5% increase over prior year. CDS buildings and codes, $205,000. That is actually a 60% decrease, and that's based on codes coming over to the city. The Renaissance, $250,000. That is a 255% increase. And then GIS coordinator, $78,000. That's a 4% increase over prior year. Any questions on agencies? We're at that point, so.
Can you explain a little bit more detail, the 255% increase?
Yeah, they've requested, and I don't know if you, Tom wants to come up here and explain any of that, but they've requested an increase for it.
I just want to get an understanding what we're going to do that's different.
Yes, sir. The cost for running our CD program is about $280,000. That's current existing as of January. The prior year budget, we went from about $400,000 to basically about $70,000 to run the program. So basically, we're trying to make up from what was a very significant cut in last year's budget.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Is there any questions for any of the agencies that are present here tonight?
Let's go ahead and roll through the whole thing.
Okay.
And then we'll jump into that.
All right.
If that's okay.
Nope, that's fine.
It's your show, man. You're the maestro.
Well, I didn't want them to have to sit here the
No, I
entire
know.
time
I think we'll
and look
go
at my
through.
ugly face,
Yeah,
so.
we'll jump on there before
All
we get into discussions.
Major department-wide changes. These are changes with, that were the most significant. The grade increase for, tier 1 grade increase for all employees, which averages about 6.5%. That is $1,328,802. The CSRS pension rate decrease is going to save us $793,927. New positions that's been requested is about $820,346. Building equipment maintenance and repair, $99,150. Insurance, insurance has gone up, and we're projecting about $164,500. Incentive and rebates, $87,400. With some of the incentives that have passed. Debt service, $118,506. And then agencies is an increase of $331,967, which resorts back to what Thomas said. We're getting it back up. Any questions on those major changes to the budget? All right, for department. Oh, I'm sorry, I just.
Miss Terry.
So the 6.5% increase, how competitive does that make us with the other cities so that we can retain employees?
It's very solid, and we truly appreciate it. You never catch up. If you skip a year, you've lost it forever. And for those years where we did 0 or 1.2, thank you, we're trying to make a difference. The staff knows that this isn't forever, and we would definitely appreciate this 6.5. And I'd like to say about the council and the mayors, we've not increased healthcare costs in the last 13 or 14 years, and that's unprecedented. So it's a good, solid thing for our staff, and it makes us a lot more competitive. But basically, government's been privatized, and this isn't going to go away. So we got to get in that mindset of being competitive about the staff we want.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Travis?
Can you explain the new positions that,
Yeah, there's different positions that's being recommended. The police department, you have the 4 SROs.
Okay.
And then you have 1 patrol officer who is replacing the officer that now sits up here at the desk. And then you have the ECC, there's 1 communication technician to help lighten the load on that. The fire department, a full-time chaplain, well needed with all the stress and that they all go through. Steve has mentioned that will be available citywide for everybody, but he'll be located obviously in the fire department. Street maintenance department, we have 2 new street maintenance workers. They'll be focused on abatement. There's more abatement now that the codes are picking up. So groundskeepers, downtown cleanup. There's 2 of them focused on downtown, which helps alleviate with the ones that are down here spreading out to local, to other wards to clean. Because this is obviously the more populated as in business, more personnel down here traveling through. And so there's a lot more eyes on downtown. I don't know if you want.
What we're trying to do is make sure downtown is clean for our residents, plus people that are coming here to visit. And that's the main thing we're looking at. That's one reason we're doing it. It helps, takes the load off of Mike's crew because they're here every morning. They'll run through town real quick, but they don't have time to stop and do little special things. They see that these happen, needs to be picked up. And we get there or we don't, and then they're calling, business owners are calling down Public Works saying, hey, this didn't get cleaned up, and so on.
we've got business owners on the boulevard too. Are they going to hit the boulevard as well? Or are they strictly going to be downtown?
Well, the two we're hiring here will be, but we already have crews that are spread out. That's what we're trying to do is add two more. And we're designating these two here. The rest of the crews will be going to the other places in the city to help clean up as we go. You know, because you look at the trash that's on the boulevard, you know, you'll see 30 bags out there on Monday if somebody goes through and does a pickup this weekend. And Mike and him will go through and pick up. That's one thing we're trying to do is help clean up the whole city. It's not just downtown.
Gary, what's the cost on that? When I looked at groundskeepers, there were grade 6 on the, but they're gonna be bumped up to a grade 7 if we pass this. So I'm just throwing a number out. I'm talking all-in cost with benefits and everything. You talking $45,000, $50,000 a man?
2 new positions for groundkeeper would be a total of about 112,000. So you're looking at about 61,000, or I'm sorry, 66,000 per. That's all
So you'd be at 112
for 2 positions.
for both of them. And Chuck, you got something on your mind, I can tell. Been doing this a while. Fire it out there.
I understand the part about downtown. Why does it have to be a city employee? Could it not be a contract company do the same thing?
I would speak and say reliability. Once you created the Small Business Commission, these are the sort of things that come out of it. We pick up trash, me, the mayor, the staff here every morning from this building, and it's back there before lunch. And that's all over this town. In terms of the cost, as Councilmember Meek just talked about competitiveness, Wendy's can still beat us. This is the least we can do.
You know, we're still under McDonald's, under Wendy's, when you really put a pencil to it.
Fair enough.
Let's offer him to.
Why don't we, everybody made some notes, I think. We can go ahead and continue through the rest of the presentation. Usually that's what we do is just let it all get out there and then have those conversations.
There is one more, there is one more position.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Dick.
Maintenance, facilities maintenance technician, which would be Tim Howes. He or she would be working closely with them, give him a hand.
What grade is that getting plugged in at?
Yeah, I'm sorry. That would be a 5A.
We got them backwards.
It's a helper.
I know what I pay helpers. I think the mayor does too. I just don't want to get in a situation like we did when I think the position we created years ago that Tim House filling has been an invaluable position. I was a tough sell on it. Troy's shaking his head. He remembers. But I think at the time, the issue that I had personally with it was initially brought him in at a grade 12. And we had to move that up because, I mean, we weren't competitive. My concern isn't getting him the help. I think Tim has more than paid for his salary for years to come with what he saved the city. I think I would rather, have him a helper doing the small, light things and Tim concentrating on the big things, the schedules and the things that come with that role. I just want to be sure we are offering that position at a competitive rate because in the construction world, if you hire somebody with the knowledge to even fix a sink or a plumbing leak and those things, I mean, we have to be competitive. And that's where my concern lies in that. I love the position. I'm worried about the pay.
Understand.
And that, not to step backwards, Councilmember Crabtree, if Councilmember Kills remembers correctly, when we tried to do this with Tim Howell, we were told to privatize it out. And that blew back up on us. We had somebody from Bowling Green's only one, charging us for mileage, trying to charge Clayton for more than it cost to fix an HVAC and all these kind of things. So we had to go with our own staff. And that's the same as what we're trying to do with the cleanup of downtown. We tried it. It blew up on us.
And I will say this, to Steve's point, we both know what it takes to get a helper, and we need to look at that before we move forward.
A good helper.
A good helper.
And-
There's
and
a
the-
thing called a helper, and then there's a thing.
Yeah. And I firmly believe that your in-house maintenance, even if we have to pay more for it, is cheaper. Every company that's gonna come out, even if it's for a 10-minute fix, is gonna have a minimum charge. And that
Yes,
minimum
sir.
charge is probably gonna be, for the city, I bet it's no less than $150 if we're here 5 minutes. You know, that would be just something I'm spitballing, but, I think we do need to discuss when we get to the end of this, the actual grade that we've got that helper in, because I don't want to be sitting here a year from now like we were with Tim going, hey, man, we got to bump this up, or we're just
Well,
got a
what
position we
did
can't
when I
fill.
Come on, as mayor, we bumped him
Yeah.
today.
100% we did. All right, Gary,
All right.
jump on in there.
All right, for the major changes broken down by department, as a administration, seminar and schools expense, it was raised. Goodwill, employee goodwill was raised, as well as vehicle maintenance and repair. The overall dollar amount for the operational budget didn't really change. We just moved money around. So the tax office, there was no major changes. For IT, there's some substantial changes. There was a software upgrade. We did add $110,350. Data services, we added $39,000. And hardware upgrades, we added $25,000. The software upgrades was due to, being that high of a number, was due to a lot of our subscriptions that we're for software. A lot of times when we get these, that sometimes they're on grants, they're paid for a while. What comes back then on IT to pay for them continually after that point. Legislative, $20,000 more wisely using the city attorney. Police department, new positions, what we talked about with the 4 SROs, the one patrol officer, $440,925. ECC, the same as the new position with the ComTech.
Gary, can I stop you real quick? Because I'm getting ready to ask Kenny Gabara for a favor. Based on some of the conversations we're having, is there any way you could, I hate to ask you to do this, run upstairs and get the payment, if it's not in the grades, the pay scale, just run a couple.
It's about the only thing I
Just
didn't
make
bring.
a copy for everybody up here so we're all looking at the same thing. Because I got a feeling it's coming. And I'm looking for what we're going off now, and we can make the adjustments on the fly, just out of expedience. Don't want to stop later and ask you to go get it then. Thank you. Sorry, Gary.
You're fine. Fire department, new position, the chaplain, gas and oil, more expensive, and utilities have raised. EMS, no major changes. Public Works admin, no major changes. And city maintenance, the new positions, what we discussed, downtown cleanup, abatement. And abatements, they're raising, want to raise them because due to how much abatement they were doing, they need more funding for that, and then drainage improvements. Any questions?
As part of this growing home, and as you thankfully prioritize codes, when you ramped up codes, you've ramped up abatements, you've ramped up Doug, you've ramped up what Melissa's team does with liens and finance, what we're doing with Lot Next Door, what we're doing with Land Bank, it's all connected. And if any of those links in that chain is not supported, then this whole process slows down. You ramp up the code board hearings, we have to go to twice a month. It's all connected. So when you ramped up code, what you're seeing is a trigger effect throughout. This is just to keep the train going.
Troy, would it be fair to say we're on the upswing? We've always talked about the bell curve if we do this, and we're still going up.
Yes.
We're going to be probably a
It's
few
culture
years
shift.
away from coming
It's
down.
a culture shift. You're not just
Yeah.
going to walk away and treat this town any kind of way.
Right.
So we got to pay for it, but it's a shift in culture.
Service center, $7,000 for technical supplies. Parks and Recreation, summer salute, there was a decrease of $63,544 due to the double event last year down to a single this year. Sportsplex, concession and vending purchases, they're selling more there, they're purchasing more. Small equipment, $5,500. And then the Bluegrass Splash, we've included an additional $42,000 into the maintenance to help with future issues with the maintenance, so.
That's the Doug Wilcox fund.
I'm glad your mic was off.
There is a quote that I have for you to read for you. It's a budget is not just a collection of numbers, but an expression of our values and aspirations, and I think that's very good.
This year,
It's going on the capital budget. If this is operational, is done.
That's
Any questions
operational?
at this time?
all right.
You ain't that quick.
Oh, no, I know we're not. One thing I asked, talked to Gary about today, just, we've got a lot of agency representatives sitting in the room. Pretty much, they're all volunteers and they're not getting paid a dime to be here, except for maybe a couple of them. But, everybody else in this room's getting paid in one form or another. So if it's okay with the rest of council, what I'd like to do is if anybody has any questions for any of the agency representatives, I'd like to go ahead and get those out of the way. Let's get our answers. That way, if they want to stay and see how the sausage is made, that's their call. But I'd like to give them the ability to answer any questions and we can get the information and hopefully they don't have to sit here. Hopefully none of us have to sit here till midnight. So with that being said, Gary, if you're ready, I mean, is there any questions for any agency representatives? We've all had the things for a week. So any agency questions? Travis is studying. Travis?
Turn my mic on. The Small Business Commission, that's a new line on the budget and it's
Yes, sir.
50,000. What are we doing with that 50,000? What's the plan?
Who's representing the Small Business Commission? Miss
Deanna's
Sova?
here.
Miss Sova, good to see you. Always good to see you.
Hello, I'm Deanna, and I'm the co-chair of the Small Business Commission. So I don't know that I'm prepared tonight to speak on behalf of all the commissioners, as we've not been able to take back to a commission meeting what we made a proposal. And we knew that you all weren't going to probably accept that proposal, but we made a proposal. You never hurts to ask, right? So we haven't had a chance to take back to the commission what has been presented to us as far as the $50,000. Now, overall, in a nutshell, I think with that amount of money, there are probably some incentive programs we would like to implement for small businesses throughout the community. But again, I'm not prepared tonight, as I don't want to speak on their behalf, as we haven't voted or discussed what we would do with that amount of money. Sorry.
When I look at the budget page, there's $35,000 on a letter about Small Business Commission, and I know I made a note at home, can't find it now, figures. What did you, okay. Yeah, what is it? The program cost sharing?
It's
You gonna help me with this?
program cost share. Program cost share, $35,000.
What is program cost share?
That's not a set in stone. That was kind of a group think real fast on what they felt that this money, how it would be spent. But again, it hasn't been approved by their committees. So that was in reference to if a business, and correct me if I'm wrong, if a business wants to purchase something,
Make an improvement,
Or-
make an improvement potentially to their business, whatever that might be.
there would be a match with this in turn, and then the requirement would be for 5 years.
Yes.
Yep, they would need to stay here locally 5 years, and that, or they would have to pay the funds.
A few of the things that we'd asked for when Sarah, the chair, had made that presentation. was one to revisit the collaborative. I think that the downtown group had provided several years ago, but to revisit that and look at that from a citywide perspective, not just focus it on downtown. To revisit that, because there's many council people that weren't here when that was presented, I don't think. The second thing would be a small business center. It's another option that we presented, and many of the communities that their small business is thriving have a small business center. And then also a point person, a person that would manage the opportunity for small businesses, whether it's attracting those or to support the ones that exist.
So there's nothing set in stone what you want to use this money for?
No,
For the
not at
50
this,
So your
no.
original ask was 500,000
1,000, that's correct.
with no plan?
No, with the plans that I just mentioned.
Okay.
That was, yeah.
There was a Walker Collaborative and other pieces.
Nothing has ever been presented to us, so
Was Sarah presented that at one of the meetings. I mean, I was here for that meeting. She,
When you say nothing's been presented, are you talking about the Walker Collaborative Council?
no, just the whole vision for the Small Business Commission. Maybe I was
She
not.
was here.
And
yeah, she came and she presented that. She
Okay, maybe that's when I might have been out that day.
Yeah,
She came and gave some very, she came and gave some very general concepts about the business commission. Thank you.
Okay.
And in all fairness, Deanna called me this afternoon, and I think I'm going to consider it a good conversation. I hope you do too.
Mhm.
And she said, how'd you put it? What's my vision of the small business?
Yeah, what is the vision of the council?
And I think that's where I'm getting a little crossed up. I would like to see the Small Business Commission come to council and give us their vision. And before I just hate to say things the way I say them sometime, but I'm going to throw it out there.
Me too.
Before I want to start giving money to general ideas, I want to see the vision plan. I want to know what are the tangibles and exactly where's the money going to. And I say that because Councilmember Smiley recently, and we formed a committee for inner city res because we've been giving it money for years and years, but there wasn't really a true vision. We didn't know where it was going, and now it's kind of stacked up. And I think there's some great things going on with inner city res. I firmly believe there's some great things that can be going on with the Small Business Commission, but I think we're putting the cart in front of the horse. What I would like to see is the vision, what you want to do, and then let's attach a cost to it. So then we know what we're giving the money for. And I know the part of our conversation was, well, we don't know what we can do if we don't know how much money we're getting. Well, we don't know how much money to give if we don't know what you're going to do. Does
It
that
is a
make
little,
any
it is
sense?
a little bit of a catch-22. We don't know how deep to go, how wide to go if we don't know a dollar amount that we have to work with. You all obviously don't know how deep and wide to go in your pockets if you don't know what our vision is. So it is a little bit of a catch-22. As a small business owner, as a community member, I appreciate not just passing out money for the sake of passing out money. I respect that. And I don't think that is all what the vision of the commission is. But you know, if you don't go in and ask loud, then you won't even know. Now that we know that this now is a base of $50,000. But again, I can't speak on exactly what we'd like to do with it because the rest of the commissioners, we all need to vote on that as a group and get a plan together as a group. And knowing that we have a dollar amount now is going to help us be able to move forward with the vision. I think Gary may have something else.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Okay.
Now that they know the dollar amount that's been recommended, they have to go back and figure out what exactly
Yeah,
they
I
can
think
do
that's
with
a bad
that
way to
dollar
do
amount.
things.
I do too.
I think it's a terrible way to do things.
I do too.
Well, I'm
Reactive versus proactive.
Really, this is the thing. It's why I try not to ever do with our church. The first question we ask in my church is not, how much is it going to cost? First question we ask is, does God want this? Tonight, I hope we would say, this is what we can do to help the small businesses in Hopkinsville and Christian County. This is what it would take. That's what we would go with.
So it's Sarah's presentation, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me.
No, and I
But
don't mean to put you on the spot.
right, there were definitives and outlined of what those things were cost. And in that, I know there was a cost of an employee. We're all a volunteer commission, so we're not in the money regardless of how much it is. If it's $5 or 500,000 needs to be housed somewhere, there needs to be audits. And I mean, you all would completely 100% agree on that. So I guess someone needs to own that. So I think that was one of the things, having an employee. And then the Small Business Center, we've had multiple individuals come in and speak to us about how the Small Business Center worked. And I do know, again, I can't share Sarah's presentation verbatim, but I do know that was all part of her presentation that night, and outlining how these funds could be spent. And it also was, again, just an easy one is just to have that Walker Collaborative be presented again, but from the vantage point of how it would benefit the entire city, all the businesses. You know, my business is not downtown. So there's a lot of, and we love downtown and we want it to be clean, but there's a lot of other areas in the community that needs attention as well.
Yeah. And I don't mean to put you on the spot.
It's
Thank
okay.
Thank all of you who are volunteers for doing that.
It's okay. I'm completely unprepared, but I do appreciate that. I think all the commissioners will appreciate that we have, this organization, this group has been created, and this is the first year. So I think that now that we kind of have a basis and understanding, we've all had to kind of grow together, and there's a lot of needs. We all represent a lot of different businesses and type of businesses in the community. And so that's been an interesting perspective on, we all have different need and what we would feel and what we think the people that we know in the small business world need for this commission to do for them.
Mhm.
I would invite you all also to please come to our one of our commission meetings as well. That probably would be highly beneficial.
That was going to be my comment was, are there any council members that?
No.
No, it's 13 commissioners that were all from business all over the city, not just, no council members on it. They were supposed to get it, bring it back to us, let us know where they want to be on this. You know, they brought me back 500,000. I said, no, I couldn't do 500,000, but I'm not going to do just 500,000 into downtown on the Walker Collaborative neither. I want it broadened from Boulevard, east side, west side, north, all across, whatever we can get, and how we can invest in every small business. Sarah and them's got a pretty good idea of where it wants to be. I wish she was here tonight, but we got Diane.
How much you have tonight? Sorry.
But you know, where this is at, we had to put a line item in it somewhere. Now, if y'all want to take away, give, whatever way you want to go, but we have to put a line item in here saying this is what we're going to give this organization if we want to start moving forward. And that's where we're at. And that's the reason me and Sarah talked, Melissa talked, Troy was in the room with us, Gary was in the room with us when we talked about the money. And I brought it down to $50,000. That way we could get a start, but it was not just for downtown, it's for the whole city. And that's the reason your 13 commissioners are not just downtown people. They're everywhere. The whole city, all across.
Well, maybe an idea is to not necessarily bring a council member or two or three to that permanently, but maybe invite two or three to participate in it. Each of us has a diverse background, different skills, that type of thing. We may have different perspective, and the more we understand, it's easier to fund or not fund depending on what we understand.
And I feel like I can speak on behalf of all the commissioners for that. We would welcome that. We would welcome, the council's thought process on, you all get feedback from businesses all the time. And so we try to get feedback as well, but it would be great to know what are your constituents hitting you all with? What are the issues they're hitting you all with?
I was on a group here back around 93, and they were trying to form a small business group. And the leader of that group, only concern was, we got to raise money. We got to raise money.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell do the people need, and what are we going to do to give to them? and the money will come. So, I mean, I think we've moved the needle in the last 30 whatever years, but, you know, I think this is a need. I think we need to figure out what that really need we need to fulfill, and we'll get there.
You know, one of the things we were able to accomplish, we kind of revitalized a small business guide. The chamber had created that several, 5-6 years ago. So we've kind of revitalized that with a lot of help from Diane Turner. And then our feedback and input and what a existing and or a new business would need to open. A lot of things that we learned a lot along just that process in general, a lot of things that we didn't know and where to access that information. So that has been one. I don't know if it's available online. I know we can print it. I think it's a printed version as of now, but it would definitely be something that should be available hopefully on the city's website. If it's not, it may be a PDF version on there now. So that was a good exercise for us. But we definitely don't want to be, we don't want to misspend money. You know, again, all of us are small business owners, so we certainly know how hard the money is to come by to begin with. We do want to make an impact. I think you can make I mean, financially is a way that you're going to make an impact. And I don't know that the small business center is where we want to be now, but I think that's something we can grow to. The communities that have those seem to thrive, and their small business communities are thriving.
Mr. Chairman, this is, you know, obvious, it's an obvious need. And it was initiative of our mayor. And so thank you for taking that first step. I was very encouraged to see that you had done that to form the Small Business Commission. This is your budget. You think that $50,000 is a fair amount, then we consider that amount.
Thank you. I hope you will consider it. I think we got to get started somewhere with a figure, and then we can go from there. If they can't come with a plan and say exactly how we're going to spend 50,000 or 500,000, you know, because I can tell you right now, Sarah tells me it's a nice round number. That's what she tells me every time. But, you know, I'm stuck at 50, and I'll leave that up to y'all and y'all's judgment, how y'all like to deal with it. Because I know you can do what you need to do.
I'll just say, I think we're doing this backwards. I think we need to have a plan in front of us. This is what we're going to spend that 50,000 on. And without that, I don't think it's right to fund it. It's important. I agree. I'm a small business owner myself, but without a plan, it's just not.
I agree with Travis.
And I think we can come back later on and fund that line. But doing it now, I just don't think it's the right time.
And I agree. If you don't have a plan, it's hard to give money. Trust me,
Right,
I know.
right.
You're not telling me nothing. I've went through this book 100 times.
I think there's other agencies in the room. If we ask them what they're going to do with that money, they have a plan. They can tell you exactly line by line where it's going. But it's just hard without a plan.
I think, and again, in defense of the commission, because now we know what the dollar amount is, we will take that back to the commission. This is what they have suggested. If we had been told a year ago that we had $50,000, we would be here with a plan. We would have already had a plan to done that, but we didn't have any idea of what would be afforded us to be able to. So it's a lot to go down a rabbit hole to work on a project, and we did that. That's why we came back with the plan that we had initially, the Small Business Commission, the Small Business Center and the employee to manage this. We didn't know where to start. Mm-hmm. So we started big, and I don't disagree that 500,000 was too much at all. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with anything you all are saying. You all are representing us as business owners and community members. But if we'd had a number to begin with, we would have already have been here with a plan. All the individuals on the commission, they're doers, they're action takers.
So we're a year behind right now.
Yep, we are.
So.
And I'm going to say something to Travis's point about the other agencies in the room, and just Margaret, you're in my eye line. So, I see you back there shaking your head. I noticed what we have for the Alhambra is 40,000. They requested 50. The one thing, talking to Ms. Prim is what they do for the downtown area. And so I had a conversation with her, so I piggybacked off those conversations, and I talked to the folks at the local, I talked to the folks at the mixer, and I talked to the brewery and some other places. You want to talk about downtown economic development and helping small businesses? You have a show at the Alhambra, you can't get a seat in the restaurant, you're standing in line for a drink at the brewery. You know, I'm fine with finding a number to fund something new, but not at the expense of an agency that I feel like has already proven it and is getting it done. And the Alhambra is helping out small businesses by every time they have a show and bringing people to downtown. So I'm just going to kind of piggyback off of Travis there. And I do think there needs to be room for some funding. I don't know that I would want to fund the full amount based on the plan, but I think starting a little small and working up, and then it's like we always say, you can always come back later. I'm sure we could find a little money laying around if in 3 or 4 months, 6 months time, we hadn't spent it all out there. We're bonding 5.5 now, so there may be a little money laying around we weren't planning on after this fire station. And let's revisit it then, and we can always do an amendment to a budget if you come back with a plan we can swallow. That's my 2 cents, as Chuck likes to say. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic, just like Rotary.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
can we start with a number that we can agree on pending the fact that the commission will come back with us at a later date? Because now what we could do is we could establish a baseline figure for this coming year, a plan, vision, objectives, whole 9 yards can come back. We can agree on that, and we can up the ante probably as you might need as the year goes on. But I would say we need to start with some number, whether it's 10, 20, 25,000 as a starting point, and then have the commission come back and talk with us, and then we decide where to go from there.
What's your number?
My number would be 25.
Did someone ask the question? Did someone ask the question, what is program?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're, that's
Yeah,
kind
Gary-
of what led us down this road.
Gary
Okay,
answered that.
I got you, yeah.
It's been a
So,
minute ago.
Still
I
a
mean,
lot.
it-
Well,
Still a
I
lot of money.
mean,
It's a lot of money.
we've been discussing this one. I feel like poor Deanna's up there in the corner.
I
of
didn't
the
even
prize
dress,
fight.
I didn't even like dress to come and
Oh.
present to y'all.
You look
I
great.
had sandals on, for
You
the
look
love of
great.
God.
Do you need some water?
No, thank you.
I'd say 25 is still a lot.
Do you?
So I'd say
Okay.
fund it 10, just to get it started.
So
I'd like to start somewhere.
to make any changes, of course, we're going to have a motion second and vote it through. So I'm just going to sit here and see what y'all have to say.
I'll make the motion to fund it $10,000.
Second.
Got a motion second on the floor to move the funding to 10,000. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so Ms. Clayton, you over there keeping track? Because if we start moving money, we know we got to move it somewhere else later.
I am keeping
Mr. Meg, I
track.
appreciate your
And-
comment, and
and-
I thank you for that. And I do think, again, like I had mentioned, I think if we had a dollar number, we would be having an entire different conversation now.
Absolutely.
But this is a good start.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
And Deanna, seriously, I think we get going, you get a plan together. I want to see y'all back in a few months with a plan. We're pretty good at looking around and figuring something out. And I appreciate what y'all are doing.
Okay, thank you all very much.
you're welcome.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions for any
I did,
agency?
near that same spot, we contribute to the Chamber of Commerce, Minority Economic Development, Aaron McNeil, and Small Business Commission. How are those 4 agencies, which seem to at least be on the same block, there's rubbing shoulders, they're kind of, how do our taxpayer dollars overlap with those groups?
I can, is anybody here from Aaron McNeil? I will say this about Aaron McNeil. I got a phone call on Monday from Kurt Anderson. If you recall, last year, they received 0 funding in the budget. and the reason for that is Kurt told us that they were so enamored with ARPA funds and all of that. Honestly, he wanted help, not money. He needed people on the disbursements. Kurt called me on Monday. He said he just wanted, because he and I had that conversation. He said the $5,000 he was asking for, he said that's not what we used to give him. And this is what I really respect about Kurt. He said, that's what my need is. You know, I don't want to ask more than my need. And I think he had a conflict night and he just wanted to call. And I told him I would, let everybody know about that phone call from Aaron McNeil.
Well, it wouldn't actually concern Aaron McNeil so much as Chamber of Commerce, Minority Economic Development, and Small Business Commission. Specifically with Minority Economic Development and Small Business Commission. How are those two kind of connected? Where do they overlap?
Mr. Snorden.
I can talk a little bit about MEDI.
Thank you.
The commission gave us an opportunity to give them a presentation, a little bit about what we do. We brought one of our clients, which is the largest daycare employee organization in the city of Hopkinsville that we help. So they give you guys tax dollars. The clients, the downtown businesses that Steve just mentioned are clients of MEDI, the mixer, the brewery. Half the businesses on 6th Street, MEDI have served. So, there may be some overlap in the future. It'd be nice if there's some overlap in the future. We'd like to request $50,000 also and get funded also. I guarantee you, the funding that we're requesting is below our capacity. We don't have any paid employees, so other than myself, for the work that we do and have been doing for the past 30-odd years in the community, we sometimes we get overlooked. I don't know if it's the name or the look, but sometimes we do get a little overlooked in our own community.
Well, I'm sorry for that because you're important to all of us.
Well, it's a saying up there on that board. I'm not going to read that saying that we talk about the expression of values and aspirations in the budget. And so, thank you there.
No, sure.
Any other questions, Don?
No. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is the point to make it, but I have two organizations that I would like to fund. Now, I don't necessarily know that we need to fund them in the budget, but I would like, if there's a way, I think they're doing good things, and that's Men to Be and the Dyslexia Association. Both of those organizations, with what they do, have the potential to really change lives in our community. And they're not buildings, they're not trails, they're making long-term, multi-generational changes and improvements to the people in our community. If there's a way we can do that, I'd like $5,000 one-time, grant to both of those. I don't know if this is the right place, but that's what I'd like to see.
Motion.
It's a motion.
Second.
So Councilmember, you're saying 5,000 each?
Yes, sir.
If we're going one time, Gary, I'm gonna fling this over to you. How do we do that and not make it a budgetary line item? Is there another place we could move it? I would just like to know where to move the money, because the line item, I think all of us will agree, we've kind of fought for several years not to add agencies as a line item. And I think everybody has had the best of intention. This is going to be a one-year thing, but then you're on the budget and all of a sudden you're getting funded every year. We have had lengthy conversations about that in council and retreats and those things. I like what you're doing. I like
in the
money.
conversations I've had today, I was told that maybe in the cleanup budget, there was a place to do that and they would just be funded that way. So.
And just so you know, the Dyslexia Association is on the budget this year at the bottom.
It is.
Not at that amount though.
No, but I didn't know if
Can
you'd
I
see.
ask about that, Steve?
Yeah.
So if I'm reading this correctly, Dyslexia Association is on the budget for $3,000. Is that correct? And you're asking for $5,000?
They-
Or am I?
Requested
No,
3,000.
but they
Yeah.
requested 3.
I had to do
The
that.
yellow is
Okay, I'm
requested.
sorry, I read the wrong thing.
Green is administration.
Okay, so did we, well, I guess my question is, if they requested 3, why are you interested in giving them 5?
I know what they do. I know the changes they make, and I know how they've been funded in the past. I mean, would you come ask for 10 if you were pretty sure you wouldn't get 10?
I don't know. I think that if, I don't know. I don't like the idea of giving more than they've actually requested.
I'm Vicki Jones with Dyslexia Association. The reason that I asked for 3 was in the past, I'd only been given $2,000, even though I would ask for more. I was not funded last year. So I thought, okay, I'll ask for 3 and hope that I get it. Even though, like Mr. Crabtree says, we definitely could use a lot more. But I asked for 3 only because I did not receive funding last year and had only received 2,000 the last 2 or 3 years before that. So I hope that answers your question.
I have a question for you, ma'am.
Yes.
And please don't take me asking this question the wrong way.
Not at
or
all.
anything. But when I look at your agency application, your current funds available is just a touch over $64,000. And I guess what I'm going to ask you is this: how is this money going to affect the service that you are giving? We asked the same thing of Ms. Sova.
Absolutely,
I think
yes.
it's only fair to ask the same thing
Oh,
of you.
I agree, and I would be willing to answer that. 20,000 we have in our savings account. 10,000 was a grant from Rotary that we got 2 years ago. It is earmarked that I can strictly only use it for tutorial. That is it. I cannot use it for anything else. Then when we went through COVID, I got an anonymous $10,000. Again, it can only be used for tutorial and screening services. I cannot hire tutors. I cannot have any pay increases. I cannot do anything with supplies that are needed for the office. That cannot be used with that $20,000. So in my checking account, I hold $40,000, and that's approximately what I spend a year.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Chair.
Do we have any grant money that's available anywhere?
No.
None whatsoever? Okay, so I would make a motion that we supply $3,000.
So you're making a motion to amend?
It would be an amendment.
Okay.
I'll second that
Okay, so we
amendment.
got the motion on the floor was for 5,000. I want to go ahead. Ms. Clayton has something to say. So everybody just remember, we got a motion on the floor for 5 and a motion to amend for 3, and then we're going to let Ms. Clayton jump right in.
Are you adding a 3,000 to the 1,500 to make it a total of 45, or are you saying to fund her the 3,000 she asked for?
3,000.
The 3,000 she asked for. Okay,
And-
so amend by 1,500. I just wanted to clarify that. As far as giving to an agency that is not a line item in the budget like meant to be, we could do that in the operational budget. I would need to make an adjustment from, I would probably say incentives and rebates, I have 75,000 in there. It would need to go to admin, and we would pay that out of industrial and civic affairs. So we can make a one-time donation out of industrial and civic affairs to meant to be in the cleanup budget.
So that would keep it out of this.
So they would not be a line item, and it would not be in next
Right,
year's
right.
budget.
So what we would have to do then to do that, Doug, when I get into this, man, I love this meeting, man. We're gonna find out if I've learned anything or not. We would have to actually withdraw the motion on the floor because we wouldn't be amending this one and then bring that motion back later when we do the cleanup budget.
Cleanup. Mhm.
That sound right?
You can go up to 2 amendments on the main motion. So the cleanest way to do it would be to withdraw, if Mr. Crabtree is willing to do that, and start over based on what the consensus is and reduce those amendments. Or you can add another amendment on top of that, and we'll take them one at a time.
But if we do it on the cleanup, it wouldn't be on this budget at all.
It is not on this
would be
budget.
just moving,
Correct.
what, $8,000 or so around here in a little while. That sound accurate?
I don't know the easiest way to do it. I just want these two agencies to have a little bit more money to do the good things they do. How we do it, I don't care.
Mr. Bell?
I get the one-time payment. Why can't they be on there as a line item like the other agencies, like yearly? Is there a reason? So you're saying they
My
can't be a
point
line
was,
item?
we have tried to keep new agencies off. We actually tried to change the way we do agencies this year. Of course, that got shot down. We can leave it on the floor. We can do it how we want to do it. I'm not a fan of adding any agencies at all. I like making the one-time grants like Chuck was talking about, because I've always been of the opinion the needs of nonprofits change from year to year. Something like the library, for instance, may have a capital project going. Troy's shaking his head, and they may need a little more one year, but then they get it done, they get it paid for. They may need a little less. I'm still a fan of a grant program, putting all the money in one pot and then splitting it up based on needs, later. That's not where we're at today.
So let's
I'm going to
simplify
keep fighting
this.
for that, though.
I will withdraw my motion. I withdraw my motion. I make a motion to add a one-time grant, in addition to anything else, to the Dyslexic Association for $3,000.
Do I need to remove my amendment?
You asked the attorney.
When he withdrew his motion, then your amendment.
Well, I'm trying to
Stands,
simplify
correct?
this.
Okay,
So that means he would need to make a new motion. Is that right?
Yes.
so now we have. a
If
motion
somebody
on the floor.
either seconds it or not.
Second.
I think Melissa needs to clarify.
Yeah,
She
I
looks
need
like
a
she
little
has
clarification. You're talking about making an amendment to the 23-24 operational budget to give them a one-time grant,
Yes,
not the 24-25.
correct.
Okay, great. Got it.
So if we're not to that line item yet, Doug, can we just?
Or you can go ahead and take that motion now. If the motion's been made and seconded, so
So then that will just change what we do later?
yes.
Okay.
Councilmember, yeah,
Meant to be, I know you'd mentioned that, we're gonna come back to that.
That's
I'm hoping somebody does. If you don't, I've never made a motion as a chair, but I will.
Well, I'm just curious, so are we giving them the $5,000 as well? Is that what you're
That
saying?
motion hadn't been
I
made.
would
We'll
like to.
we'll vote through the dyslexia, then whoever wants to can make the one on men to be. How about that? Perfect. So
Discussion,
discussion, had a lot of it.
vote.
So the motion on the floor, I know the order.
Switch
Chuck.
seats.
I'm just helping you out.
Somebody needs to. I tell you what, I usually hang pretty tight up here. Y'all got my head spinning tonight.
Good.
So the motion on the floor will be to make the one-time grant to the Dyslexia Foundation out of the cleanup budget, the 23-24 fiscal year cleanup budget, and somebody will have that figured out when they come up here and present that in a little bit.
Right.
Okay, we got motion second. Who seconded?
Discussion is,
Who
discussion
made the
is,
second? I missed that.
Travis.
Travis, okay. Good job, Travis.
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion on the dyslexia?
Can I
Grant.
clarify?
Yeah, let's clarify.
Clear as
So
mud.
this is so Dyslexia Association asked for $1,500.
3,000.
3,000.
They asked for, they asked for 3,000. This in the city, what do you call this?
Recommendations.
Recommendation.
Yep.
They said 1,500. So now we're wanting to bump that up an additional 1,500 to give them what they asked for. Is this correct?
3,000.
So total amount would be $3,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's coming out of the cleanup.
And it's coming out of the cleanup budget. Okay.
Doug.
Well,
If it's coming out of the cleanup budget, we are not changing
You're not
this
changing
budget line item in 24-25. So if it's coming out of cleanup, the 24-25 budget line item is not changing.
right.
So you're gonna give 3,000 plus the 1,500 in the budget?
Yes, yes. The
Okay.
way the current
Yeah.
motion is, that is what we're going to do.
Okay.
say that one more
Wait, I
time.
know, I was just thinking the same thing. What?
No, that's 4,500,
That's
right?
4,500.
Yes, that is
Yeah,
correct. 3,000 fiscal year 23-24, 1,500 recommended for 24-25.
Yeah.
That would not change.
Now that,
Members, you guys are talking two different budgets.
Yeah.
yes, we are. So
Yeah.
that actually, if you do it that way, that actually leaves this as a line item budget on here,
That's
It does.
which
Yeah.
is one of the things I thought we were trying to
Well,
get away
there's-
from. Forgive me
Make
for
it on
saying
there.
this maybe in a bad way, but
They,
you know, these things are not entitlements. Oops, they got real quiet in here just then.
I was,
They've been a line item for how many years?
yeah,
Years, right?
Okay.
they've been.
Yeah, they've been on it.
It's not a new line item.
No.
All right.
Motion and a second.
Got a motion second. Any further discussion on that one? All right. I didn't hear anything. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, we got one opposed. Motion's gonna carry.
Men to be next.
End to be.
I'm waiting on it.
Well, I guess I see a representative here. Could we call him up? Because the ask was, if I'm understanding, it's 36,000, correct? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So just for clarification purposes, I know Men to Be does a lot of great work. I value that program, but I'd just like for him to shed some insight for the entire council that maybe not be well versed or familiar with Men to Be, in your intent with the 36,000.
We asked for that amount to sustain our program. It's having such an impact on the community. These boys, as far as grades and behavior, we've been doing this going into our 4th year, and it has helped tremendously with confidence, and these young men deserve it. We didn't, me personally, my wife had it down what we was gonna use the money for. 36,000, divide that by 12, $3,000 a month. I didn't think that was too much to ask for the city of Hawkinsville to invest in these young men. The programming, the tutoring, the food, you're feeding 70+ boys or more 5, 6, 7 times a month. The community events that we have free of charge. So that was the reason why I felt the number wasn't too big. We would appreciate the 5,000. Don't get me wrong. We would appreciate it. But Men to Be is a grassroots program we started in 2020. A lot of people thought we was nuts, and then COVID going on. But when Jesus say move, you move. So that's what we did. And this grew to an astronomical point, faster than we ever thought it would be. We got a lot of good things on the horizon, so we would like y'all to consider us. I would love to be on that budget every year, but a one-time grant would suffice, and we probably would ask again next year and the year after that.
Yeah.
Mr. Keel.
If you don't, you're not trying.
Don't turn it down, are you?
I expect to see you up here.
You have not, because you asked not.
You got that right.
What the word says.
Quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna, and I'm trying to treat everybody the
Go
same,
ahead.
equal and fair across the board. So when I look at your funding application, we had a projected revenue of $156,000. Your projected expenses were $157,150. So you're showing about $1,150 shortfall on what you're projecting for the coming fiscal year. Your balance in your reserve accounts and your checking account is about 55.8. And I don't want to talk numbers and take away from the good work. I support everything going on, but ultimately we have to talk numbers in this room tonight. And that's the reality of the
First number
situation.
might have been a little high, but everything is straight donations. And like I said, y'all excuse me from address. I just come from mowing grass with one of the boys. But our money comes straight through donations. Nobody gets paid, and this money would help sustain the program. We do a lot with those boys, and out of that 150, whatever it said, 95% of it goes back to them.
You give me the look, man.
You asked the question, so I'm looking at you.
You're fitting to back me down.
Well, like I said, they do great work. $36,000. I don't personally think that's a huge number, given all that they do. So I would like to make the motion that we give them what they've asked for. I mean,
You don't want to do 5 more.
so that was your, okay, see, I
Mine
guess
was to do a one-time grant of five grand,
uh-huh.
in addition to whatever else the city does. And I believe in what they're doing, and I think our community is going to see huge dividends, and you're going to impact people this generation, the next, the next, the next. So we're blessed for what you all are doing. So mine was to add 5,000. That was,
The city is not giving anything according to this.
I'm going to give a
One-time grant.
one-time grant of $5,000.
Well, he's wanting to give 36,000.
Oh,
So that's why I'm saying you're talking two different things.
Yes.
I mean, it's the same organization, but Matthew's talking about giving a lot more than you are. Right? Isn't that what I understand?
That's what you get. You understood correctly.
Is that your motion, Matthew?
That is the motion, yes.
The motion.
So
Motion is to give 30.
the motion is to give the 36,000 that they asked for to them as an agency in the next budget. Is that what, is that what
Let's
we're doing?
let's ask Mr. Handy to clarify his motion.
That's what I,
Can you clarify the motion?
Sorry,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
having a cough.
Yes, I saw you over there.
What did you say? I'm
Okay.
sorry, Councilman.
it was asked in the, through the agency part of our budget for 36,000. Is your motion to put that to fund the $36,000 in the agency budget for next year?
That's for the 24-25, correct?
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so that's your motion. I second.
All right, motion second on the floor. Any discussion?
I got a question. Is the city sponsoring anything going forward? Like, is
What?
there anything on the horizon that we're,
You like events or something?
yeah, any kind of events?
As of right now, we give them right at $7,000 out of the interfund. What we
It's
did
like a
this year,
sponsorship or?
It's for things that they did on sponsorships, yes.
When is
That was
is
his
that
last
already?
year.
That's done gone.
That's what it's come out of the interfund for this
That come out of the
budget,
mayor's
that-
interfund this year.
which
Is
we
there-
didn't give them anything last year.
Is there anything coming this year?
Depends on what y'all give them here just a minute.
We can't go back in that interfund.
I can't go back to that interfund. There's maxed out on her line.
I got you. Okay.
Without council.
Yeah, without
That-
y'all saying
yeah.
approval. Just like we did the doors, we had to come back and ask for
Mhm.
75, we had to go to 12.
I got you.
Chairman?
Yeah.
We currently, and I verified with Ms. Clayton, that when we changed the Small Business Commission to $10,000, then that frees up $40,000 out of that. So given the 36 will still leave us $4,000 that's still available to keep the balance, the budget balance. Just clarification.
In all fairness to Ms. Sova and all the other agencies, I want to ask the same question we asked of her. What specifically is this money, what tangible specifics, where is this money going to be spent?
We would like to pay tutors. We have a tutoring program. Every other Saturday, we tutor 40 plus boys. Right now, our tutors are doing it for free. We would like to give them something. We also do tutoring on Tuesdays. That's where some of the money would go. We also have our annual gala, that's our big fundraiser that actually helps fund the program. And we would like to sustain the program without any money, it would be a shame for this program to die. So to me, the majority of the money would be to sustain the program. When you take 70 boys anywhere, educational wise or anything that we do, it costs money.
I have another question. How many more boys do you have, say, now than you did 2 years ago in the program? How much has it grown in 2 years?
In 2 years, we probably got 40, and we probably got 20 on the waiting list. But mentors are shy, so we keep our numbers what we can handle. We could have 100 plus if we open the door.
Okay, thank you.
The motion is to go the full 36. Like I said, I've never made a motion one way or another sitting in this chair. However, I know we asked for plans and stuff from small business first year out, cut them 40. My concern on this is that they're showing an $1,150 shortfall in their projected budget. And total funds available right now of almost $56,000. I'm not opposed to give some money. I think there are some other organizations out there that we've cut that are in about the same financial or less financial shape. I don't know, if everybody's comfortable with the 36, or maybe just do what we did as a starting point, like we did with the Small Business Commission. That's what I'm throwing out for discussion, but I will not make a motion. So, any other conversation?
I'll just say they have a proven track record. I went to the Soapbox Derby Friday night, and Vice Killebrew was there, and he pulled up right there with me. And those two young men that got out of that vehicle were the most respectful people I've ever talked to, more respectful than my kids. So I was really impressed. So you guys are doing great things, and I'm good with it.
And the Soapbox Derby ain't free.
Yeah.
And we had 9. I think we had 9 every year. I think we've done 9 boys or more.
Yeah.
Everything. I just say everything we do costs. This is a great program.
Yeah.
I have a comment sorry.
Which way?
Go ahead, Ms. Amy.
Go ahead.
I kind of going back to what Steve was saying a little bit. I agree. I totally appreciate what you're doing. And I think that the city should help with the continuation of this program. But part of me is wondering if we should, going back to kind of what Chuck's original thought was, go back to maybe $5,000 or $10,000. And then if there are future needs that arise, then come back instead of giving $36,000 now, start with some to kind of keep things going. And then you can always return and see if we can help in the future. But I feel like that's a big jump to go from the city recommendation to be $0 to $36,000. So I feel like maybe somewhere, if we could meet in the middle or go back to maybe the $10,000 that we requested for the Small Business Commission, or I don't know, I'm just trying to think how we can do this where we can be supportive of what you're doing without giving as much as we're originally talking about right now. I don't know. I've got a lot of thoughts. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I understand. When you say 36, it sounds big. To me, $3,000 a month from the city of Hawkinsville is not a big number.
But you were able to do it with nothing from Hopkinsville last year, with the exception of some of the sponsorships and stuff we did last year.
You did, and I think it's just my opinion. Is a shame the city of Hawkinsville has not did anything for this program.
I'll disagree with that. As the mayor just said, he's used his interfund.
Mhm.
So that is money from the city of Hopkinsville. So if
Absolutely.
we've done 7,500, so to say the city hadn't done anything, that's an unfair statement.
Over 3 or 4 years, just whatever y'all decide, we're grateful. I'll say that.
I would like to say something on behalf of Men to Be. I've been to their galas. I've been to their programs. Me and Councilman Hamby has, and Jason. I've been to them, and Natasha. We've had a lot of fun at them. But these men young men, as Travis just said, are very courteous. When they step out, they have a coat and tie on. They're dressed. There's no saggy pants. Everybody's got a belt on. Everybody is respected when they know when men to be show up and represents Hopkinsville, Kentucky. And that's what I'm going to say. They represent Hopkinsville, Kentucky to the best, and I'm going to make sure they get something no matter what happens here.
And I'll piggyback there with Travis and Mayor Knight. My daughter teaches third grade, and several of these young men are in her class, and she actually came out to the soapbox derby to support them. She showed up, and I will say, you know, she calls me a lot. She's a first year teacher. She has some rough days, and that's an area that she really doesn't get a whole lot of the issues from. So it does carry over. And like I say, I don't doubt the work. I'm just looking, unfortunately, tonight, we're talking money. I think the work you do is an invaluable service. You know, I think the city has been supportive as we've shown through the interfunds in the past. And it's, for me, it's like anything else. I want to be sure you have your operational money. I want to be sure you can run your programs. I also want to say to you, just like I did to Ms. Sovin, several of us did, if you find yourself in a lurch and you need the money, we're going to be here. You can come and talk to us. We've had, I see Darryl Gustafson sitting back there. He did that happened to him with the Bruce several years ago. We didn't fund what we would normally fund. They got in an issue. They came to us. They got taken care of. We have a proven track record at this council for taking care of folks when they need money. If you know that, so I just want to make that statement. The finance side has nothing to do in my eyes with the work being done. I just want that to be clear.
So do we have a motion on the floor in a second?
We have a motion. We have a second. What is it? The motion is to put $36,000 in the fiscal year 24-25 budget for men to be. That's the motion on the floor.
I only want to make one comment. This body spent $250,000 the other night. And I'm not going to get into all the details for a road. If we can invest in a road, we can sure as heck invest in the young people and the future of our community. I say we vote up or down. Let's go.
Any further comment? Anything else on this one? You good, Amy?
Yeah.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Got one opposed? There we go.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right. We're still on agency. Any other, so I guess, do we need to vote, Doug, Melissa, one of y'all, Gary, whoever, do we have to vote to put that money in the 40,000? Do we have to vote to put that in, or?
Yeah.
That's just.
Unless Melissa needs it.
No, we will use the 40,000 from the small business will be placed on the men to be line for 36,000.
Right.
So you have a $4,000 surplus right now,
All right, thank you.
unassigned.
All right, any other agency? Anything else for agencies? All right, so the agency portion, I think we're in pretty good shape there. Is there anything on our departmental operations? I know we talked about the downtown cleanup. That was part, I made some notes. I don't know if anybody else did. Was there anybody wanting to have any further conversations about that? About those two positions, Travis, you had some, and Amy. And if we want to, I think we might wait till Chuck gets back. I think he went to the restroom or something. Kind of let everybody roll around. Now, one thing I kind of want to throw out, I've always said I never make motions. But we do have $4,000 sitting on the table that did come from the agency line. And I noticed the Alhambra did get cut, the Arts Council did get cut 10,000 off of their ask. And I don't make motions, but I would, love to see that money stay in the agency line and go to the Arts Council because they do phenomenal work down there.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
So got Travis and Bruce. Y'all want to wait for Chuck?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait for Chuck. Is everybody good? Does anybody need a break? We can take 5 right quick. If anybody wants to make the motion to take a 5, and I'm going to run the clock on this thing.
Let's do it. Make the motion.
I'm just gonna call a 5-minute adjournment. Everybody hang tight. Thomas, you got me back there? Shut her down. We're back live. I'd like to welcome everybody back. We got our classroom helper here passing out a few things. So,
Thank you.
before we took our brief little intermission there, comfort break, as Mayor Lynch used to call it, we had a motion second on the floor with the 4,000 remaining from the agency line to move that to the, what's that, the Arts Council?
Yes. It
So,
would go from 40 to 44.
so that's on the floor. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Terry said aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So, Ms. Clayton, we should be back to zero.
Yes.
Heck, yeah.
Nice.
You're doing the presenting, she's tabulating the numbers.
Well,
All right.
I'm writing it down too.
All right, so I said it before, had a little break. Any more agency? Okay, we're good on that. Now, back to, I guess, what the departmental on the operations side. Any discussions on anything? We have the new positions, those things. Is there any discussion, any changes anybody wants to talk about on that? Anyone? Bueller? Chuck?
I have a question. It's not really, it kind of goes back into the codes discussion and the bell curve. And we were ramping up and we need people and stuff. And now that you all have been doing that and getting it organized for some time, where are we with the collections? How are we doing and how is that progressing?
Collections is still slow. Doug's office is still pushing forward on it. Melissa can give us some answers on that.
Alyssa's going to explain. She set up a more strategic approach of what she sends over, because there's cost to that.
Yeah, I
So
get it.
she's
I get
being
it.
more strategic in her approach. She can better.
In the code enforcement fund, currently we have about $363,000. A lot of that came from the very first year we did codes. We budgeted $200,000 for a lot of the legal expense fees. We put that in a trust fund, and that money has been sitting there waiting for the time to ramp up. Currently, this week, we got an email from Doug that said, hey, we've made it to the end finally of all the lot next door properties. So finally, they are either in pending litigation, all the title searches have been done, or what was the other one you said, Doug? There were 3 statuses now of all of the lot next door cases. What was the third one?
Well, they're either in litigation, they're in the end of litigation. We've got some that are already going to public auction and then in the preliminary process. So all of those have now made it into the hopper, and it's just a slow process. And for each one of those cases, even though it may be a vacant lot, it's worth $5,000. The court cost and the master commissioner's fees are going to be almost that amount. So it's not a moneymaker on the lot next door, but it gets it out of the city maintenance work. So it saves money for the city in the long run.
We're not
And back on
mowing
the tax
it,
roll.
we get it back on the tax roll.
Yeah, and somebody else starts taking care of it. When they
Right.
go into the lot next door, somebody else starts taking that, they enter the sweat equity, and then after a year, we sign a deed, and it's their property, and then it goes back on the tax roll. The program is working, so I feel like we've made a lot of progress. I haven't budgeted any additional legal fees or anything this year because I feel like that the money we have in the fund will last us till at least next June, and maybe in next year's budget. Did I answer your question?
I think so. The money's eventually going to start to roll.
Yes. So when one of these lots comes off or whatever, and the money comes back into that code enforcement fund, and it will sit there until we, need to spend it on legal, or sometimes filing liens cost money, or we spend it out, but the fees are coming into that fund. So,
Okay. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I can add also, though, that the lot next door is just one small part of it. All of our liens are being protected through any foreclosure that is filed. And then in addition to third-party foreclosures, we've got a list of properties that we're now getting ready to start going after. And we're designating the properties that have a higher PVA value so that when they sell, there's going to be money that's going to go back into that fund.
Okay.
So I think in the next year, you're going to start seeing, now that we're getting to those properties, that fund being replenished more when we are more strategic in how we go after those properties.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working the lien list and we're giving those to Doug. So we gave him 10 lien properties. We picked 5 from what Public Works abates, and we picked our 5 highest lien valued properties. And we went after those first, and we're just going to whittle them 10 at a time. As they work through them, we'll give them more. So it's a process. It's a long process. It's a legal process, but it is working, and I feel like we're making really good progress.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
All right. So where we're at on this portion, if no one has any changes that you want to make on the rest of the operational budget, this is where we would need to get a motion to
Forward
as amended. Thank you, Doug. I forgot that. To forward as amended to city council for passing it through as an ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
So we got Terry, we got Amy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hey, we got some budget done. It's 7:48. So, well, Gary, let's talk.
We're on the next
Capital
chapter,
budget.
huh? All right.
Still on the hot seat, man.
All right. For the revenue projections for next year's capital budget, you're looking at a insurance premium transfer from the general fund, $1,987,916. Transfer from the general fund for the insurance premium wins, $258,296. Transfer from general fund for Campbell contracts is $100,000, and then the transfer from the general fund police department, $40,956. Department recommendations, there is a surplus of $1,259 remaining after all recommended expenses. For information technology, enterprise software, $29,000. Phone system upgrade, this is phase 2 of the phone system upgrade. This is $223,000. That's a total of $252,000. The police department, HPD vehicles and equipment, $200,000. HPD body cameras, $173,909. Contract payment for a total of $373,909. Fire department, fire truck replacement plan, $450,000. City maintenance, vehicles and equipment, $100,000. Cemetery repairs and maintenance, $100,000. And a boom mower, $250,000 for a total of $450,000. Fort Campbell contracts, pickup truck, 1 ton, $75,000. Road marking equipment, $25,000, total for $100,000. Service center shop equipment, $25,000. Parks and Rec parking lot upgrades, $30,000. Playground replacement, Westside Park, $95,000 for a total of $125,000. Then agencies, LDC property maintenance, that's $60,000 for the Oddfellow building. And then buildings and properties, the municipal building bond payment, $550,000.
Any questions on anything? 60,000 for the Oddfellows building?
Yeah, the windows.
Working on the windows, and part of that will be used on windows and other things that have to be done, but they're gonna completely remodel the inside of that building once Mr. Vance is supposed to start. Me and Holly spoke this morning about it. Hopefully next week get the contract signed with him to start the insurance side of it. And this other 60,000 will be going towards the renovation of them other apartments that they moved from people out of to get them renovated on this apartments.
Where are we at? I mean, that building, I'm getting a lot of flack over that building right
I'm
now.
getting a fire lit under my seat on it.
I guarantee I am too. And my concern is where's the insurance money and why are we over a year and still have, and quite frankly, I've never seen this in all of my construction days, a window boarded up from the inside. I'm catching a lot on that property.
Yes, sir, and I'll do my best to address that, Councilmember Keel. It took us several months, and I'm talking like 6 to 8 months, to get a solid estimate from our contractor. And then it took several months for the insurance to approve and negotiate that contract amount. The insurance has paid the Local Development Corporation about $300,000 to date. That money remains in LDC's account, except for what has been spent to pay out insurance claims. There are 4 properties on that claim: the Oddfellows Building, the Woody Winfrey Fire Transportation Museum, the Fred Atkins Park, and the 4th one just completely left my mind. Maybe it's 3, I'm sorry. Fred Atkins Park has been taken care of. We are in a very similar situation with the Woody Winfrey Fire Transportation Museum. Those bids are being reviewed right now by insurance, but the bid came in more than double what the insurance adjusters thought that the project should cost, so we're in negotiations. We issued a notice to proceed to Mr. Vance on March the 19th for the Oddfellows project, and he ordered the windows the following day. They are scheduled to arrive June the 17th or June the 19th, during that time frame. So we now have a date when they will arrive. We had a situation where we had to have one of the tenants relocate as a result of the storm damage. So we issued the notice to proceed to Mr. Vance last week for him to begin work on that apartment and the other interior that was damaged as a result of the storm. So he assured me that I would get that notice to proceed back from him this week, and that he would be able to start that work next week. So we anticipate that much of the storm damage on the interior will be corrected starting next week, and then once those windows arrive, he'll be able to complete that portion of the work as well. He has already replaced the roof, so that part has been taken care of, and we are still trying to work out arrangements for the replacement of the decorative balustrade that goes on top of the building that blew off during the storm. We had a contract worked out with a local artisan who's a metal fabricator, and because we require insurance for them to perform the work, she has withdrawn her bid. So we are back at square one on a metal fabricator to finish that decorative ironwork.
Why did we wait 6 to 8 months on a bid when there are multiple contractors available?
We bid the project and no one bid on the project. So we sought bids, and we sought bids from 3 different contractors, and we only got a bid from one.
Did we stay local or did we go out of town on any of them?
We stayed local.
'Cause I mean, I like using local. Trust me, I've got a local contracting company and I like
Yes,
that.
sir. We
But
stayed local.
at the same time, 6 to 8 months in this business is, I mean, I'd go broke. I think Mayor Knight would go broke in their business. Quick question, when I'm looking at the balance in your reserve, in your checking account, I know we have some restricted funds. You're showing over $1 million in the LDC checking account. I'm showing $1,119,393.23. I'm also seeing $912,379.84 as restricted funds for Legacy Hopkinsville. With $912,000, we've been in years past allocating anywhere from $350,000, $450,000. Can we not, I mean, basically, we have 3 years of inner city res money still sitting there. Is there any way that we cannot, instead of giving this $60,000 in capital that could go somewhere else, not find a way to amend that reserve? I mean, $912,000 is not going to get spent in inner city res, I'm going to say in the next 5 years. So why can't we move that money to where it's needed instead of let it sitting there drawing interest? And that's taxpayer money sitting there. And then we're going to throw another $60,000 of taxpayer money at a building that quite honestly should have been fixed 6 months ago. I would rather pull out of something that's showing restricted and free up that $60,000 because there's almost $1 million of restricted funds to the point they only asked for $100,000 this year instead of the normal 350 or 450. I don't mind funding things, and I'm sorry I get a little emotional, but we're sitting on taxpayer dollars given to a program that's not being spent. Spend the money if you're given the money. That's 3 years worth of funding sitting in reserve.
Mr. Chairman, as
How
part of
much
our,
interest did we draw a year on that? I'd like to know. How much interest is being drawn on $1 million sitting in a bank, restricted?
currently, the Local Development Corporation is drawing about $5,000 a month interest. And as part of our Legacy Hopkinsville request this year, we did request that a lot of those funds be reallocated. I don't have that folder right here, but I have it right there if you would like for me to explain those.
I'd like to start right now
recommendations.
reallocating $60,000 of it and pulling that 60 out of our operational. I don't know how to make that motion, but $5,000 a month is $60,000 a year. You're getting the money and interest to pay for what you're asking for. Where's that money?
We do have a plan to reallocate some of it. She's going to talk to you about that.
As part of our request, we proposed that, this is what we requested out of Legacy Hopkinsville: $50,000 for the revised rental rehabilitation program, $50,000 for existing downtown incentive programs, and $30,750 to partner with the Land Bank Authority for the creation of a strategic plan to address development of vacant properties. This request takes into consideration reprogramming of prior year funds in the amount of $105,000 for demolition and $50,000 for the 7th Street Gateway entrance plan. Funds in the amount of $305,054.94 are encumbered for active projects, leaving the actual balance available at $703,383.96. And that was as of February.
How much was that last number?
As of February, $703,383.96.
Think we can pluck 60 of that and put in that Odd Fellows building? And then let some of our city folks maybe put that money into, I don't know, asphalt or concrete
Can I
sidewalk?
say something really quick? I was kind of trying to look at who didn't get things that they were asking for, and is Toby here somewhere?
There's Toby Hudson.
Well, I noticed here that one of the things that was asked for under Parks and Recreation was baseball and softball field upgrades. So, I mean, that's just an example. But I mean, to your point, I'm wondering if there's something that didn't get funded that we could take that money and fund something else. I don't know how to decide, what is priority or what's not priority, but there are definitely things in this budget that did not get funded. And that was just one that caught my eye. So.
And I mean, I would like to see, if we're sitting on over $700,000, I mean, I applaud reappropriating, but even at $700,000, that's 2 years worth of funding. That's 2 years that this council has funded the RES program, and the money's still sitting there. And at the same time, we've told Toby no. I know we've told Mike Perry no. We've told Steve Futrell no. Yeah, I got you, Steve. We've told Jason, well, I don't think we told you no yet, but we told Clayton Sumner no. We've told the police department no. We've told admin no.
I'd like to point out, Chairman Keel,
there's just money sitting there. We've got
the city is holding,
I
the
went to
city's
throw
holding the
away
majority
something
of
the other
that.
day. My trash can wasn't there because it was over here because our roof was leaking. And there's $60,000 toward a new roof on this building.
Councilmember Keel, I'm sorry, Chairman Keel. As part of that legacy budget, the money is split up. The city is holding some of that and the LDC is holding some of that. And the current full allocation, the city has funds available that you all are holding in the amount of $480,557.25. We've confirmed these numbers with Ms. Clayton. We've gone through 20 years worth of expenditures and our numbers match with the city numbers. So the LDC is not holding the majority of that money.
Ms. Clayton, the money that we're holding, we are paying that on a reimbursement basis. Inner City Res does what they do, bring us the invoice, we pay it. So it's not that the city's not using it.
we made that change last fiscal year. In years prior, we were writing the whole amount of intercity res money straight over to LDC. Last year, we decided that we would hold the allocation until they sent us invoices. So all of last year's money, besides what we spent for land bank and the network neighborhood coordinator, is still in the city's account. Also in our account is the money for demolition. So when a house, we have the demolition money is setting in the city's account. And I think one of the park lines is in the city's account. But we have worked together over the last few months to get all of the legacy money where our numbers matched. We were having some issue with my numbers weren't quite matching with theirs. So we went back through how many ever years we've had legacy and intercity res to make sure that the money I had and the money they had all matched. And so we match, and we do have 480.
As of February, it was $490,939.25.
Yeah, and we've spent probably about 48,000 on demolition the last couple of months out of the intercity res account. So we're happy if you want to reallocate some of the demolition money to go to the Oddfellows building. I'm happy to do that, or however you want us to do it. Just
Where I'm at is I don't want to see us pulling from the 24-25 budget, $60,000 when there's $700,000 of unallocated funds that we could draw from. And historically, if it took 20 years to build that, I don't think they're gonna go broke in the next year. We spend the money we have and take the new money and put it where it's needed. I'm not saying we don't need to spend it at the Oddfellows building, but there's money available to spend at the Oddfellows building, as evidenced right here. All we got to do is reallocate it. We reallocate all the time.
This may be a question for Mr. Willen or for Melissa, but each line item that has been established within the Legacy Hopkinsville budget has been done by municipal order by this body. So I think you may have to look at those individual line items to decide where you would want to take it from if that were the action you chose to take.
yes, well, it's all been established it's been all been allocated by you. We will have to bring you an MO back to reallocate it.
That's easy enough. We got 3 city council meetings between now and when this budget goes into effect. That's no problem at all.
You want it to go straight to council, or you want it to come back to committee of the whole?
I think we take it straight to council. I'll let everybody's in here. What do y'all think?
Council.
I'm good with it.
Okay, we will bring you a reallocation of the legacy funds.
Now, as I tell everybody, I don't make motions, so everybody knows my opinion. If anybody wants to make a motion on that 60,
Let's just
I'm
make a
all ears.
motion. I'll make a motion.
Got Don,
We return
I
this
got Terry.
line item to zero and bring an MO back directly to the city council.
So we're gonna put, so the motion on the floor is to pull the 60 on the LDC, and then they will bring us an MO to reallocate some of the money they got sitting. Any discussion on that? Everybody ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Matthew. So
Thank you all
now
very
we
much.
got 60 ahead on capital.
That's tough.
So plus 60 right now. Gary, you got anything else for us? That was fun.
We can go to the next slide. There, that's it.
Okay. There's your capital. We got $60,000 of capital hanging out. Anybody want to talk about where to put it? I mean, I know Futral's over there got some slobber about a fire station. You got $9 million.
If you ask, then Steve, take all you can get right now.
But you know, I know one area everybody loves, and that's fresh asphalt. I mean, we got the MRA sitting there. Mike Perry, I mean, how we look, I mean, you can spend $60,000 on asphalt.
Ain't much asphalt.
That's a half mile of paving we can get in the city if y'all want to do that. It's whatever everybody wants to do.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right, motion from Travis. Jamie, I'll give this one to Jamie. And that's to move $60,000 over to the MRA fund for more road paving. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You good? You were drinking. I was checking. He's good. Matthew's good. All right. So now what we need would be, getting in front of yourself. We need a motion, if everybody's good with where we're at, to forward as amended, got you this time, Doug, the capital budget to city council.
So moved.
Second.
I got Bruce, I got Amy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, we're back to the operational budget amendment. I'm not gonna call on you. You're already there waiting on us.
Operational budget amendment number 4 for the year, our cleanup budget for operations. I'll start off with property tax. Property tax has been coming in over budget. We would like to take the property tax money and put it into the health trust. The health trust balance is currently below 300,000, which is my comfort level. So that's the first one. The next part is the business license revenue account, also coming in over budget. By MO 54-2022, we will split the overage for the business license account into the future fire station fund and the economic development fund. So that's pretty much already set by you guys as well. Next, I'm going to skip down to, I think that's the ECC labor reimbursement. ECC's been running over budget all year. This is to clean up. We will get revenue reimbursement from ECC, and that will cover the salaries, but I have to get the salary lines up in order during the cleanup process. So that's pretty much not really anything there. Next is our unscheduled overtime reimbursement for EMS and fire. This is always part of our budget cleanup because we do not budget for unscheduled overtime. And so at the end of the year, when we look at how much unscheduled overtime we've spent, we always budget that. It goes back into EMS and fire labor. If you look at the split, really the EMS department is covering most of the overtime. So there's very little unscheduled overtime being reimbursed back to the fire department this year. The next is the building permit fees. And on the building permit fees, Doug and I met with Tom Britton and Steve Underwood to discuss what to do with the building permit overage. What we decided out of that meeting was that we would put the money over into a trust account and we would wait to decide after all the budgets were passed and everything, we'll revisit the topic. So we're going to move the excess building permit money into a new trust account we're going to create. We need $180,000 to cover what I have already paid CDS out of the building permit line. So the building permit fee line will increase by $180,000 and then we'll transfer $495,000 or whatever the building permit number is. That's an estimate. It's not exact. Whatever the excess building permit is to a trust account. The reason I have to do that is because I can't leave it in the general fund. It will become part of our surplus, and then our surplus gets divided up into lots of different categories. So we have to transfer it out of the general fund. So I will take questions on that part if you guys have any. Okay, great. Transit room tax is coming in above budget. Transit room tax is also a pass-through, and that just, the revenue will match the expenses at the end of the year. I think $275,000 is enough to cover the overage. And then the very last slide is what I call our cleanup accounts. These are all the accounts where we feel like we need a little bit of additional money. We're going to use our excess and insurance premium tax and payroll tax revenue to cover the difference. Brittany, there's one change to this line. The incentive and rebate line will go to $72,000, and we will add a line for admin for $3,000 to cover the change that you guys passed earlier today. That will go out of industrial and civic affairs to dyslexia. So everything else on there, we're adding some to water park because we have not gotten the refund on the water bills, and I have to have it covered in case we don't get the refund. So the water park needs more money, legislative needs more money, and incentives and rebates have come in a lot higher than what we were expecting. And I have budgeted the first bond payment for the two-way radios that you guys passed earlier this week. So $235,000 will cover next year's payment. So we're going to go ahead and set that aside in a trust, and when they send me the bill, I'll have the money there to pay it. So I just did 1 year, and that concludes my operational budget amendment.
Any questions? All right, if no questions, we will,
Second.
all right, well, then the motion is to forward it to council for an ordinance. We got Don, we got Amy. Any questions, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank
Any
you, guys.
opposed? Well, I almost didn't turn my page over. Gary, you're back.
Just council members, for the record, Derek Watson is working on, with his board on that rebate for us. It would have to go through the board, but he is taking it very seriously and he's working on an option for us.
Jason Bell, aren't you on that board? Roll it forward. You better roll it. Hey, we do agency reports. We're gonna skip right to you at the next committee of the whole meeting. I hope you're talking about some money.
All right, I'm here to discuss capital budget amendment number 5 for fiscal year 23-24. The revenues would be $315,486. Insurance premium transfer from general fund. Transfer from general fund wins additional $111,990. And then capital insurance proceeds, $20,163. That's from unit 56 and 499. For the expenses, we have HPD, vehicles and equipment, $8,163. That's just the insurance proceeds going back into that line. Then capital maintenance, city maintenance, vehicles and equipment, that's $72,000. And that's to replace the unit 499 that was totaled for the lead maintenance technician. And then $267,476 for fire station number 5 remodel, total of $347,639. That's all I have.
Any questions on that one? So we'll entertain a motion to send that up, become an ordinance.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I got Terry, I got Travis. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One quick thing before we adjourn. I know these meetings, they always get a little rough, but I know we're all on the same team at the end of the day. I want to thank Mayor and Troy, the finance team. Gary did a great job. Melissa, I know you were involved a lot. And all the department heads that worked together to put this thing together for us. I think IT gets a shout out. Good job in the booth. Took 2 of them tonight, keep up with us. So now I just want to thank everybody, including the agencies, CDS, everybody. I think we last year kind of changed the format, stuck with it again this year. Guys, we've said in years past for hours in here, and didn't even have as much up and down voting as we're having in this one. So, and we took a comfort break. So I just want to thank, the mayor, staff, everybody involved, the department heads, everybody all the way down. You brought us something, very little changes. I think departmentally, I think we rolled right through there. And I just want to thank y'all for the work that y'all put in, because I know it was probably February when I got the schedule. So I know they were working on this budget all the way back in February. So a lot of months of their life went into this thing. And I just want to say from the chair, we appreciate your hard work.
We want to thank the council. I say this every year, Kim McCarley, when she sat there, used to tell me I was a brown noser, but.
Well, she ain't wrong.
A little bit. Listen, you guys could easily spend this money on cutting ribbons and investing in the staff and investing in this city. It ain't exciting. I know that isn't sexy, but it is mature and it is the thing to do to turn the city in the direction you want to go. So on behalf of the city employees and this community, I thank you very much.
I'd like to say thank you for what your hard work. I know y'all been looking at the budget. We've had a lot of discussions and phone calls with many of you and had a lot of it going through. We was talking this afternoon before we even got here and in here. Thank you all very much. The employees will thank you. I thank you for giving them what they need. We make the city a better place.
All right. with
Motion
that,
to adjourn.
I got Travis. I got Amy. All in favor of going home?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.